Greetings and welcome back to Asafo Academic. Got another video. This is not so much a debunking video, but this was a perfect opportunity to expose the mindset of a black conservative. If you haven't checked out my video, my problem with the black conservatives, please do so you get a fuller understanding of the origins and everything, and check out my debunk series as well too, where I debunk a lot of the talking points not coming from just black conservatives, but conservatives in general. Now, this video has to deal with the Mercator projection. Now, I found this video interesting, just the way that he gives his commentary, and it really just exposes the black conservative mind as really being Eurocentric, just having a black skin but a European mind. Um, I mean, it's really sad when we go into some of the commentary he goes into because it really has nothing to do with the subject at hand. And also, it's funny how they talk about facts over feelings, but the Mercator project is not an accurate map at all, but he wants to defend it tooth and nail. And for what reason? If it's not accurate, then why does it still need to be in schools? If the Mercator projection was made for naval navigation, it still doesn't need to be in schools because schools is not about naval navigation. So time is money, so I'm gonna get right into the video.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wasn't gonna make a video about this, but I'm like getting fed up with the victimhood mentality. It's astonishing to me that successful black men in America, they do some of the most complaining that I've ever seen, and I don't know what this obsession with Africa is. People are
So he thinks that successful black men in America don't need to call out systematic racism or anti-blackness. He thinks that they should just shut up because they've been successful, so they don't have anything to complain about. So he is very appalled at the fact that this comedian, his name is Godfrey, would be calling out the Mercator map. We'll continue.
are just obsessed with Africa, as if Africa loves you back and somehow gonna welcome you with open arms if you show up. You know you would never live in Africa. Now I don't know about this guy. He looked like he probably got some I don't know, Jamaican or African or foreign genes in him, because I think that maybe he do have some relation. But
So Godfrey is Nigerian. Um, so the black conservatives, they have this idea that Africa and brown countries, they're the worst place to live, and America is the number one place to live on the world. They point at all the immigrants pouring out of Africa, coming into America. But I will say this, um, when you ignore history and when you ignore colonialism, that was put on Africa, we ignore the following effects of colonialism to neocolonialism, and it actually bleeds into the situation we have today. I really can't be surprised that immigrants are flying out of the country, running out of the country to go to the West or European countries. But we'll continue.
doesn't matter because you don't live in Africa and you probably will not live in Africa. But the reason that I'm bringing this up is because he had made mention to Africa, the continent of Africa, on a map. And because in previous illustrations of the globe, that Africa is disproportionately smaller than what it really is. And so in the minds of a brainwashed, racist lens black man, they have to believe that white people have something to do with this, and it has something to do with white supremacy.
Okay, so I will say that the Mercator projection is a very Eurocentric map. It centers white countries to look a lot bigger, like the United States, Canada, Russia, Europe, and it makes Africa and South America look very small. So I will say it's a Eurocentric view of the world, but it's not an accurate view. So why he's so angry about it, I guess he's angry about the commentary from Godfrey, but there really shouldn't be so much pushback because it's not a accurate map at all. Um, the conservatives love to say they love facts, but the fact of the matter is this is not a map that is not conducive to education, and it's not accurate. So him being shocked and appalled at Godfrey for calling out this map is I would say hilarious in some ways, but it really just goes back to the mindset of the black conservative. They will attack anybody that calls out Eurocentrism, and that's essentially what this is Eurocentric view of the world.
Let me just make this statement before I play this video, and I give you an explanation of why the maps are distorted and why it's not as simple as you think. Let me just say this, and I want y'all to listen. Bring your ear over here. Put your friend in front of the camera. White people ain't worried about y'all.
You see, so it's interesting. It's interesting. So white people are not worried, but white people came to the continent to enslave black people. White people, after claiming that they wanted to give freedom to the enslaved in the United States, specifically, systematically tried to destroy their communities. Specifically, when we look at the Freedmen's Bank in the US, how black people were able to put the little that they were able to get together after enslavement and get it together at the bank, and the way that they were screwed over by that same bank. If we look at systematic racism in real estate and how white people kept black people out of certain neighborhoods, if we look at gentrification and how white people would push black people out of neighborhoods, if we look at redlining, where in terms of education, um, black parents weren't able to send their children to certain schools and had to send their children to less than adequate schools. I mean, there's so many different examples, but he's going to tell you that white people are not worried about black people. I could even give the examples of the epidemic of the Karen, of Karens calling police on black people for no reason. If you go back to the original story of Emmett Till, of how that white lady called the police on Emmett Till and accused them, or didn't call the police, but sent killers to Emmett Till and lied about it and ended his life, and she still hasn't received justice. I mean, there's so many different examples, but to him, he's not worried about any of this. His job is just to excuse white people for everything that they do. So white people are not worried about black people. Okay, let's go.
They ain't. The Europeans aren't worried about Africa being smaller on a map somewhere. It's not like they made the map smaller and Africa somehow did not know how to use their resources properly.
Okay, so I mean, this is another point that they like to use, that Africans did not know how to use their resources. They 100% knew how to use their resources. They were using their resources before Europeans came. Um, I will say that what the tribes that did sell Africans, they did make a mistake. They didn't understand how barbaric that the Europeans were. They didn't understand the enemy that they were facing at that time. And then some of them decided to align with them. But this idea that we were not using our resources and we needed white people to come and show us how to use our resources is completely and 100% bullshit. But he hasn't even started a video, and look at the direction he's going.
It's not like because Africa's smaller on the map that somehow they started trading each other in slavery, meaning the Atlantic slave trade and the fact that black people all over the world because they were selling their own people into slavery.
Yeah, so I mean I just mentioned it, but I mean Europeans brought firearms to Africa, so it wasn't like we just decided out of nowhere, like fools, just to sell. Africans just decided to sell other Africans. I mean, I could go into that a little bit more, but he wants to overlook. I mean, see, look, they overlook history when it's convenient, and then when they look at history, they ignore certain parts. And this is classic Thomas Sowell doctrine. Take what you need to argue whatever narrative that they're pushing. So now he wants to ignore the aspect of firearms, because before firearms were introduced, Africans were fighting invaders. as well as having tribal wars, but the landscape didn't change until firearms were introduced.
It's not like because the map is smaller on a illustration of a globe that somehow the genocides that have been going on in Africa from the beginning of time is somehow prevalent.
Says the genocides that have been going on from the beginning of time. What is he talking about? What genocides is he talking about? Genocide is to completely wipe out a people. If you look at the book, The Destruction of the Black Civilization, even our warfare between tribes was different. Warfare didn't mean completely obliterating another tribe. Warfare, it was it was definitely competitive once one tribe against another tribe, but the goal wasn't to completely destroy the other tribe. We never had that sense of European barbarianism that came onto the continent. We did have a much more friendlier idea of warfare, and it completely changed when the Europeans came with the firearms. So, I mean, firstly, he's using the word genocide wrong. And if he's talking about the Rwanda, that was perpetuated by Europeans as well too. But up. He's so heated up. He hasn't even started a video. He's just saying whatever how he feels. Like the black conservative Rolodex that's going off in his head. He's just trying to hit off every point, and he's getting completely away from the topic at hand. But let's go.
Stop. And let me say this too before I play the video. Even in America, I've lived in black neighborhoods. I lived in white neighborhoods. Black people are not a threat to white people outside of violence. I'm just keeping it. I'm keeping it 100. Black people are not a threat. I don't see a black man moving in the neighborhood and white people are scared that he's gonna somehow turn the neighborhood, make it better than they made it. Nobody cares when you on this level.
So he's just really talking about upper class neighborhoods. He's not talking about lower class. He's completely ignoring gentrification. I mean, this is just a black conservative mind for you.
And you go move to where these people live at. They probably live in all white neighborhoods and wealthy areas. Nobody cares. When you're making money like that or you live in an affluent area, they don't care about minding their own business. I can't tell you what my neighbors look like. I have never seen my neighbors over here to the right. I've never seen my neighbors over here to the, I mean, I've seen the lady over here to the left. I probably seen her husband one time. I couldn't pick him out of the lineup. I don't know who's live across the street. I don't even know. Nobody cares. Nobody's worried about you, bruh. All right, let me play the clip.
I will say that I've seen a lot of rappers, a lot of celebrities move into white neighborhoods, and they post videos, you know, videos of their neighbors and whatever. And it seems like they have I guess friendly relations. But he wants to ignore the history, especially the history of real estate, how real estate practices locked out black people from certain areas. And the same thing has happened in Canada as well too. There's a history of Canadian systematic anti-blackness in this country as well too. But this is why we have to be we have to be on point with history, because people like this come in and then just give the black conservative talking points. And because people don't do their own research, people are not versed in history, people fall for it. And then we get the rise in black conservatives along with this talking point. My issue is I don't have an issue with black people becoming conservatives. I have an issue with black people becoming conservatives and then using these talking points to speak down on all of black people.
No, the maps are purposely shrink Africa down. They make America look bigger and Russia look bigger than Africa.
Check this out. It's what can fit into Africa.
Look at it.
It's the United States, China,
Look at
India.
Look at this. Look what can fit into Africa. Look at this. Look at it. And they got Africa. They just, I mean, white supremacy, boy. Woo, you motherfuckers are some.
That's bullshit. That's straight bullshit.
Yes, that's bullshit.
Educated, wealthy black men talking like that. So the white man done concocted a way, and y'all ain't even from Africa. Y'all are Americans. But somehow the white man is concocted a way in which to display the continent of Africa in a much minimal way to accomplish what, ladies and gentlemen?
So yeah, it is a Eurocentric map. It came after colonialism was started. I mean, What exactly is he trying to? I don't know how he's trying to argue the map isn't Eurocentric. The map is most definitely Eurocentric.
What are they accomplishing? To make black people look bad? Yet black people flourish in these white countries. The biggest flourishment of black people, the most wealthy black people, you know, when I say per capita or in large, is in America and Europe and in these white places.
There it is. There it is. He thinks white countries are the best thing to happen to black people.
There's only a few countries in Africa where you see tremendously wealthy people. There's only a few countries. You talking about the continent? And if it was so good to you, why y'all don't move there? We all know. We all know why you don't move there. You got enough money to live there. Y'all can actually go down there and build some stuff. But you know, you love living in the white man country because the white man country is civilized. Okay.
The white man country is civilized. Okay. This is the mentality of the black conservative, deep at the core. I mean, he hit all the points in this one video. He was triggered by one video.
And then a lot of civilized countries in Africa are being influenced by Europe. Okay.
So why is countries in Africa being influenced by Europe? Like he wants to acknowledge the fact that Africa is being influenced by Europe, but ignore the history of colonialism and enslavement. It's incredible. It's incredible how they cherry pick. And this is classic Thomas Sowell. This is classic Thomas Sowell, cherry picking certain information, leaving out certain information.
Okay. Let me go on. And I can't explain why Africa doesn't do well with their resources. I can't explain it. I don't know.
Yeah, because you're not versed in history, you don't care to learn history, so obviously you don't know. Of course you wouldn't know, but that's why you need people like me to correct you and check you.
Now it's just the color of somebody's skin. I think it's godlessness. They don't retain. They hadn't historically retained Jesus Christ in their consciousness, and I feel like that's where the problem lies.
So here we go. So Officer Tatum, he's a Christian. So yeah, let's get into this. Let's get into this.
It ain't got much to do with the color. It's like where there's no God, where there's no salvation in Christ, I feel like things go down the wayside.
Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one.
Okay, so this idea that things go down the wayside without God, but when you look at, you know, Catholicism, he's a Catholic, he's a Christian. I shouldn't say Catholic, but he's a Christian. But if you look at what's been going on in the church with the boys and the priests and how they cover it up, isn't that godlessness? Isn't children being abused godlessness? Isn't children being abused and the perpetrators not facing consequences godlessness? And this is not any attack at anybody who may be Christian. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm just trying to show you the extent of black conservatism, because conservatism at the core is does have Christianity as a religion. They use Christianity to guide a lot of their decision making. So this idea of godlessness, this is now another point that he wants to throw out there, but I mean, there's godlessness within the church as well. The Pope, a Pope of the Vatican, sanctioned enslavement. Wasn't that godlessness? But of course, he's not going to mention that. He's not going to mention all the negative effects of Christianity onto the continent, you know? So I could go on all day, but it's interesting. This is the core. There's so many different points, even touching on religion as well too. He has the Trust God shirt right over here.
Now, forget the little square here. I'm gonna scroll this anyway. Just a little documentation. I can put the link. They make you subscribe, which is a headache. But it's a lot of explanation in this article about why they draw it a certain way. Because it's not easy to make this different countries proportional without a tremendous distortion of the country's shape. And so it's not that easy. Now, this is called an Equal Earth map, which is the map that they've now introduced or they've built out to make it a little more fair and make it look a little more reasonable. You go down here to the Mercator map. It makes Iceland and all these other places look tremendously big. It makes Russia look huge, and it makes Africa look small. Now, you can see the difference. Do I think that this is somehow the white man trying to hurt the black man? I mean, these maps were created in 1569. 1569. I mean, what kind of technologies do we have now, and what kind of proportional maps can we do now that we couldn't do way back then when they created it? Because nobody thinks of this except black folks in America.
Now, again, cherry picking information, call it again. So now he wants to say that because of technology, we have new ways to create the map So let me just show you the Gale-Peters projection. Let me go back here. The Gale-Peters projection is a rectangular equal area map projection. Like all equal area projection, it distorts most shapes. It is a cylindrical equal area projection with latitudes 45 north and south as the regions on the map that have no distortion. Let's see here. The projection is named after James Gall and Arnold Peters. Gall described the projection in 1855. So let's take a look at the map, right? So he said due to technology, we have ways to redo the map, but 1855, we had a more accurate depiction of the world map. So of course, here we go with the Black conservatives. Cherry picking information is what they do best. Will he mention it? Let's see.
African people ain't caring about the fact that their continent is not that big. Nobody cares. The fact that you make Russia big look really big, what does that mean? It means absolutely nothing. And I see you got to sign in to read the rest of it, but I thought that was a good article. I read through it because I'm like, let me just hear a reasonable conclusion because I can't listen to none of these people because they don't think beyond the curb line. But I don't know why it's just this obsession with believing that white people are just so worried about black people as if they don't have their own problems. And I want to say this too: white people are not all the same. Just like black people are not the same. I have zero meaningful connection with the continent of Africa. I have zero. I don't know. I've never been to Africa. I've never met anybody in Africa. Somehow my DNA goes back to Africa. I don't know, probably thousands of years ago, maybe hundreds. I have no idea. I have no connection to Africa. Do I think that Africa is a beautiful continent? Yes, there's a lot of beautiful countries within Africa. Cameroon looks beautiful. It's another place that my friend go to. Botswana looks beautiful.
So you go here, you go after shitting on the continent, now he wants to sprinkle some compliments. So, it's a very heavy-handed, backhanded compliment. A heavy backhanded compliment.
There's so many different places in Africa that are absolutely beautiful. And the resources in Africa, I don't understand how Africa isn't the most prosperous continent in the world.
Yeah, because you don't understand history, but he's gonna go with the religion again. So he's twisted so many different themes into one. It's insane.
And you can't say the white man then came and messed it all up because then that means black people are so dumb that they couldn't overcome the white man who's smarter than them.
No, I would say that Africans were naive to the barbarianism of Europeans. Firearms was definitely a game changer, but Africans definitely underestimated the barbarianism of Europeans. If we just look at how Africans practice enslavement, it was more so of a prisoner of war concept that they are going to continue to ignore. And you look at all the atrocities that Europeans did to enslaved. I mean, there's so much in terms of using the Bible to justify it, physical, physical punishment, sexual assault on men and women. I mean, this is the Europeans, and yeah, the Africans underestimated them. I'm not saying that it's not an excuse, but we have to look at it with context, not just with a generalized brush.
I think it's God. But however, the fact that black people that are rich, that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, that can probably buy a country in Africa, that they're complaining. I'm just tired of the blaming the white man. I mean, it's just weird to me. Russians and Americans are not the same. Europeans and Americans are not the same. Canadians and people that live in the United States are not the same.
So it's like he's been so steeped in black conservatism. He's been so against black people in America. He's presenting himself as an expert of white people. How can a black man be an expert of white people? This goes back to black skin, European mind.
Why do y'all think every white person is the same? These are Australians are not the same. We're not the same.
It's funny that he mentions Europe, America, Canada, and Australia. I mean, Europe, America, Canada, they all had practiced slavery one point or another. In Australia, Britain successfully colonized Australia. And I mean, if you look at the Aboriginals in Australia, they've been systematically put into the position that they are in today. And they're even farther away from getting the reparations that they deserve as well, too. So yeah, I mean, if you go back far enough into history, yeah, white people are pretty much the same, but continue.
as a country, and then white people, they ain't the same. Black people ain't the same. I have never been to Jamaica. I have zero connection with Jamaica. I have zero connection with the Bahamian Islands. I have zero connection with, I don't know, Cuba. I have zero connection where there's black and brown people. Just because people got the same similar skin color, don't mean we related. Don't mean we have nothing in common. It's funny because these Americans will go to Africa and they're not going to be welcome the way they think they are. Africans that come from Africa, that come to America, they appreciate America and they see less race than the black Americans that are born in this privilege.
Yeah, of course they do. And it goes back to what I was saying. If you look at my video, the problem with the black conservatives, that's what they like to do. They like to pit black immigrants with the descendants of enslaved in America, the black natives. So here is a fresh example of him doing that.
It's just beyond comprehension to me. Everything is the white man's fault. Now, I would accept that there have been some things that Europeans have done that have hurt other people. But
Oh, so now he wants to admit that there's some things Europeans have done. You see? So you see how they deny it, but then they'll admit it a little bit, and then let's see where he's going with this.
mind you, there's a lot that Europeans have done that have helped a lot of people.
Got him! Got him!
Ding, 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 ding. So we got the classic Thomas Sowell back again. Back again. So please, I mean, I broke it down in that video, and he's exhibiting at has to be between 70 to 90% of what I was talking about in that video.
If you want to say the white man is bad, well, okay, we'll talk about the good. Because there's no other place that black people can prosper more than in the United States of America. White man country. Remember that? The white man's country.
Man country.
It's what it is. Capitalism works. Christianity is not even a white race, but we embrace Christianity and Catholicism a lot more than in half of the places around the world.
Okay, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you learned something. This was just a very deep example of the black conservative mind. I mean, the video is supposed to be about the map, but we've seen how he jumped from one issue to another issue. Before he even started, he was worked up. So this is a black conservative for you. They hate to hear about anti-blackness, racism, because they generally feel like it doesn't exist. But you heard him. He admitted, oh, maybe European did bad things, but then it was to turn around and say they did good things as well too. So it's very disingenuous. Their commentary, the way they flip-flop around, they deny anti-blackness, then they go to admitting some of it. It's really incredible. But that's pretty much it for this video. Tell me what you think in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. Let's get the numbers pumping. Peace out to the next video.